Hello, guys. In this video, I have President Joe Biden versus former governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan. Larry Hogan would be not that bad of a candidate for Republicans to run. He honestly would probably do better than Donald Trump in an election scenario and probably have a lot more strength than Trump does in a lot of these swing states. Because we did see that even though Brian Kemp pretty much went after Trump back in when Trump was trying to get him to overthrow the results of his own state, Brian Kemp stood up to Trump, so honestly, we could see Larry Hogan try to perform pretty decently, even for a Republican in a lot of traditionally blue states. So let's get right into this. So the first I'm going to open up with is Maryland. I really think Larry Hogan could get it down to under 10%, just because I think he would do very well to independent voters in the state of Maryland. And we just saw previously how well Larry Hogan did electorally in the past in Maryland. He performed pretty well for a Republican, but he wouldn't win the state. I still think it would be a lot of partisan voters in this state that would prevent him from winning it. But he'll definitely improve the margins here quite a bit in the state of Maryland, and I could say the same for Virginia. I really think he could make it a competitive swing state this election. It just borders Maryland. He probably would do very well in the northern Virginia section, especially the suburbs around there. I think he get good margins out of, but I still think it would narrowly vote for Biden by about 2%. But if he picks like someone like Glenn Youngkin as his VP candidate, he could totally put Virginia on the board as a state that could be won by Republicans. All right, so the state of Texas, I think Hogan wins it by a likely margin, probably around 7 or 8 points, improves on Trump's margin just with independent voters alone there. Florida, he's just he could appeal to most Republicans here in the state of Florida and probably win it by over 10%. I think he wins by 11 here. He gathers most of those independents and swings them his way. The state of North Carolina, I think Hogan would win this state by about 3%. I think he would have decent southern appeal. He made Virginia a lot more competitive, and I think he would win this state of North Carolina by a healthy margin. In Colorado and New Mexico, I think Colorado is just trending Democratic, so no matter what, Biden wins it by over 10. But New Mexico would get a bit more competitive because Hogan's more moderate of a Republican. He could make it even go to lean, but I think Biden still carries the state by about 6 or 7 points. State of Iowa and Ohio. Iowa, it just really disapproves of Biden by quite a lot. So even though Hogan really isn't super populist, he still will be able to win the state of Iowa by over 10%. Ohio, go to him by about 8%. I think some of the Trump populist base might decline a bit, but he can make up with that for independent voters. You get a lot more better margins among those moderate independents. Okay, let's head to New England. I think Biden would still win Maine. He has a fairly decent approval rating in the state of Maine. Well, Maine's second goes to Hogan, and I honestly think Hogan would be the best Republican to flip the state of New Hampshire. He's kind of like the moderate Republican here. He's sort of like Chris Sununu in a way. So I think he could genuinely do pretty well in the state of New Hampshire. All right, let's move on to Georgia. Georgia, I really think he could flip it by about 1.4%. He could probably maybe even pick Brian Kemp as his VP nominee. However, I think he would rather pick Glenn Youngkin instead, and I still think he could win Georgia by doing that. So I think he would just win over those moderate Republicans in the state because he himself is a moderate Republican. And I think he would do well with independents here. Let's head on to Arizona and Nevada. Arizona and Nevada, I both think would flip narrowly towards Hogan. I think he get all those moderate independent voters and moderate Republicans who backed Biden over Trump last time to his side, mainly because he's a lot less extreme than Trump is. So he would just get a lot better margins among moderate voters. And these last 4 states here, and Nebraska second. Nebraska second, I think, lands with Hogan. They like their moderate Republicans. While Minnesota goes towards Biden. Michigan also goes towards Biden because Hogan's not super populist. He's a lot less populist than Trump. But the state of Wisconsin, just because of his decent appeal among moderate voters, he could totally win that state. The state of Pennsylvania, I still see it narrowly siding towards Biden, but Hogan could totally snipe it off. But I just think that he just isn't populist enough to really get the right margins out of Pennsylvania in the rural areas. He probably improves in the suburbs, but he loses ground in the rural areas. So that's my election prediction. It was Biden versus Hogan. Let me know what you think of this election prediction in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.